NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo. 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 Hi, everyone. I hope you're healthy and safe. Now we are going to read, I think this is the final Gosho translated in this dissertation from the 90s, the early 90s, from Dr. Jacqueline Stone. And I believe this is also one of the Goshos that's translated in, if you go to the playlists on this channel, you'll see there's a playlist called Nichiren Gosho with several hundred videos on every Gosho from the Gosho Zenshu as well as some others. I'm trying to separate them out though, so these translations from Dr. Jacqueline Stone and others that I'm going to read from the scholarship of the Nichiren Jiten and the anyway, we've got a lot of Goshos to go over. Some of them we haven't come across in the Zenshu. What's the matter with my mouth? And so there are different branches of scholarship, all with their language and cultural biases, of course. But I've been really enjoying these Gosho from Jacqueline Stone. This is the final one in the book, and at that point I will have read all of the ones available in this writing, and then we'll move to those. My point is there's a separate playlist called Nichiren 2, T-O-O, clever. Anyway, it's just a way to distinguish one branch of scholarship from another so that you know. Again, there are so many videos on this channel, over 600. I don't even know the count right now, but to breeze through all of the videos on this channel, it would be difficult to find topics that might lock in with your curiosity, your interest, your research. So please don't forget to use the search on this, not the YouTube search, but the search further down on the home page of this channel where the little magnifying glass is, and put in words like chanting karma, such and such chapter, or of course, if you put a word in like Gosho, you're going to get hundreds of results, right? So you might want to be more specific in your search, and that'll search not only the titles but the descriptions in the videos, so that you'll get a result set, and then you can peruse a smaller set at least to pick and choose or make a playlist of your own to watch and gather your insights from these videos. This is Letter to Abutsu-bo. It will be in the Nichiren 2 playlist. And Abutsu-bo is evidently a monk. He's a teacher. And so this letter will be, as I've said before, there are like personal letters of advice to lay people. And then there are those letters that are a little more direct because of an assumed knowledge of Buddhism. So this is one of those where he's going to hit through some concepts without having to couch them in a lot of storytelling, because he's dealing with a fellow monk, somebody who is spreading the word of the Lotus Sutra Buddhism via Nichiren's doctrine. This is somebody he met evidently in his exile, his last exile to Sado Island. This letter was written in, 1276 or 1279? It's not very long, but it has some really strong points to make. Yeah, 1276. So that would have been about 6 years before Nichiren passed away. So this is a monk who is living on Sado Island and preaching Nichiren to, and supportive of Nichiren when he was there, exiled on Sado Island. So let's get into it. That'll all become obvious as I read it, but I just wanted to make that preface. And he's responding to a letter from Abutsu-bo, and so he begins. I've read your letter carefully. Also, I have duly received your offerings to the jeweled stupa, 1 string of 1,000 coins, polished rice, and the other items you sent. I have respectfully reported your intent to the object of worship dedication, Gohonzon, or mandala of Gohonzon, and to the Lotus Sutra. Please be easy in mind. So we could spend a lot of time unpacking all of that. I've talked about all these subjects before, but just very quickly. Received your offerings to the jeweled stupa. Obviously, that's a reference to the chapter in the Lotus Sutra regarding the treasure tower, the jeweled stupa, the you and I, the Gohonzon, that internal window of our human mind that opens, becomes aware, receives, expresses our Buddha-ness, right? So when we chant to open that Buddha-ness in our mind. It's already extant in all of life, but in our samsaric mind, in order to experience it, we need to invoke it. And then it becomes more and more a part of our awareness in our daily life. That's why it's often called awakening, right? Just like awakening from sleep at night and dreams. When you awaken, you stay awake. You drift into dreams, even in waking hours, that's samsara. But the objective here, the commitment here, is to our window of Buddha experience in our lives. That's coursing as bodhisattvas with a Buddha mind, Buddha awareness in our samsaric reality, right? So the jeweled stupa is the reward body. It's the experience of that opening mind of Buddha within our earthly Saha world existence. So it goes by many names: Gohonzon, jeweled stupa, treasure tower, all reference to living life to its fullest through no less than our complete awareness, our Buddha mind of knowledge of the entire process of life, right? So the offerings, in other words, that were sent to Nichiren to support his life, his practice, his work, are in fact not to the human, although they subsist. You send me rice, food, money. You, in your offering, are supporting my life, and more to the point, though, my life for a specific purpose, not just to, make it so I can run around or be happy, but because my life is committed to spreading the practice of the Lotus Sutra for others to attain their Buddha awareness, their awakening, then it's important that I then continue to live, right? So that substance is seen in that way as an offering to enlightenment itself, right? You're not just sending me a cheeseburger because you like to see my chubby cheeks. You're sending me food or money to buy equipment to keep this channel going because of the mission that we're all participating in together. So in that way, your support, you're clicking like, you're subscribing, you're sharing, you're sending candles or financial support to keep the internet connected so that I can send these videos, my recordings, all of it, right? Your offerings are seen as an offering to the end goal. The end goal being the enlightenment of all of us, certainly within the Sangha, and our influence in our society, the environs around each and every one of us. So it's important to understand, I think, that when offerings are made to, you know how I feel about the label teacher, we're all our own teachers, but in an organizational sense, as you send certainly support to me, for instance, just like to Nichiren, you're supporting your own practice as well as the practice in general, because all of us are practicing not only for our own enlightenment, but the influence of our environment is our practice, and therefore a bodhisattva practice for those in our environment. So every offering that's made with that attitude and intent, I'm always hammering on those two words, right? Buddhism is about the mind, attitude, and intent. So when those offerings are received, they are received with the spirit of the intent of our Buddhist practice. So this is why he says, I've received your offerings to the jeweled stupa, not to me, Nichiren. One in the lists, the coins and the rice and the items you sent, I have respectfully reported your intent to the object of veneration, the object of our commitment, our resolve, right? The word worship here, that's just cultural bias. It's about the Gohonzon, which is an internal realization of Buddha, and to the Lotus Sutra. And the Lotus Sutra being NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo, right? Please be easy in mind. Why would he say that? You could say he says that because he wants the guy Abutsu-bo to know he's received the goods. But he's saying a lot more than that. He's saying that the recognition of your intent, your attitude, your practice, and the support for the practice in general is being recognized and being valued in that way, right? Just the first paragraph and all that blah, blah, blah. Let's go on. First of all, he says, in your letter you ask, quote, what is represented by the jeweled stupa of the Tathagata many jewels that rose and appeared out of the earth, end quote. And that's a quote of Abutsu-bo asking a question, but it's also a question regarding the very chapter of the Lotus Sutra that deals with this jeweled stupa rising into the air. This is the sermon of the Lotus Sutra, right? And I already gave it away. This teaching is extremely important. So let's see how Nichiren puts it. In explaining the jeweled stupa, when the great teacher Tendai, Chi-e, interpreted it in Chuan 8 of his Wen Chu, he said that the jeweled stupa has a twofold significance. That of verifying what has come before in the Lotus Sutra, and that of introducing what is to come after. Verifying, let's see what she says about that specifically. Welcome back, page-turning karma. Oh my. quote, "Truly this stupa rises and appears from the earth in order to verify that it has come before and to invite Shakyamuni Buddha to expound what is to come after. The emergence of the stupa is considered from two aspects. First, the sound of the voice of the Tathagata many jewels issuing forth from the stupa serves to verify that it has come before. And Shakyamuni Buddha, opening the stupa, serves to introduce what is to come after." That's from the Wen Chu. Here, what has come before, quote unquote, indicates Shakyamuni's teaching of the one vehicle that leads all beings to Buddhahood without discrimination, while, quote, what is to come after, end quote, refers to the revelation of his original attainment of Buddhahood in the far distant past. Verbiage, right? So we've discussed these subjects at length again, but just to quickly review. There's this moment in the 28 chapters of the Lotus Sutra. In the first 14, he's preaching to the masses, all minds. And I say it that way because, as you notice in the Lotus Sutra, as in many, many sutras, the beginning is about who the attendants are. And the attendants are the bodhisattvas from here and the bodhisattvas from there, and the arhats from here and the arhats from there, and the the Dragon King's daughter, and all these various personages really is an indication, an ovation to the sermon that says, this is a teaching I'm addressing to all mental types. Right? Buddhism is about the mind. So a mindset, a life condition, a caste, remember India was a caste system, right? So to all of these various personages, types of personalities, types of mental cognition, I speak to you now. And if you think of it that way, it makes a lot more sense than the fairy tale magical mind of, thinking this is all an animation from Disney. These are mental conceptualizations, right? And they're given names for easy reference. And so when the jeweled stupa appears, he has set the ground for what he's about to teach in this sermon. And as he's about to teach this one vehicle way, and everybody is asking him questions, what do you mean? What do you mean? Tell us what you mean. Whoop, this jewel stupa comes out, and what that is a representation of the title, the essence, the law, the crux of this sermon, which is NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo, right? And when he then, from that point of view in the sermon, where now I have your attention, now it's all focused on the law, let me tell you that the law isn't something that you're going to unearth and find somewhere. That the law has been abiding since time without beginning. That this law is not me. It's not me, this human who's experienced it, awakened to it, albeit it looks like for the first time somebody has discovered this thing called Buddha, and it's this guy we call Shakyamuni, Siddhartha Gautama, right? But the fact is that the Buddha that I awakened to and discovered has been here all along. Don't confuse it with me, the man. Buddha has been since time without beginning and will continue time without end. This is why it's universal, and this is why you are part of it. You just need to wake up to it. Whoa, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? This really rattled people. The idea that they have the sole agency for the quality of their life. You and I are in complete control of the experience we have of this lifetime. That's shocking. That's hard to conceive of. But that's what he eventually says in the Lotus Sutra. That's the lifespan of the Tathagata isn't the lifespan of Shakyamuni. It's not the lifespan of Siddhartha Gautama. It's the lifespan of the thus come one, the process of life. What and how do we instantiate, and what is the significance of that instantiation? Again, we are manifest, incalculable energies combining skandhas, so forth, consciousnesses, on. And these are terms you can search for videos on specifically those, the 9 consciousnesses, right? The skandhas. This Buddhism has been describing all of these energies since the get-go. And the formations that are formed of the quiescent potential of everything, not thing, so on and so forth, is that quiescent energy without time-space. Once we begin to form mass, time-space, formations become forms. And because formations are innumerable, endless, there are constantly new forms expressed. You and I are a specific kind of form, specific to the point that we are the ones who emerge from this apparatus, a mind. And that mind has the potential ability to conceive of the entire process. And for Siddhartha, Shakyamuni, for the teachings, the one vehicle teaching of enlightenment, is to realize that fully, because when you do, all of your earthly fears, attachments, anxieties, all about thingness, stuff that we don't want to lose, that we want to gain more of, all of that becomes irrelevant, and it releases our experience from that anxiety and stress so that we can just flow right along with it, experiencing not only everything, but ourselves fully, without restriction. That's very hard to conceive of. But if you have confidence in it, then when you chant NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo, you do Gangyo, right? You get a mandala so you can really focus. More and more, you retrain your mind, your Gohanzon, to stay open, to receive Buddha clarity, Buddha wisdom. And it changes your samsaric behavior, your samsaric life, your samsaric energy. And this is why not only do your life evolves and expresses itself more easily and more supportedly, but it also radiates into your environment, because your environment is a reflection of you. Or in Buddhist terms, it is you. But it's that symbiosis that Buddhism is talking about. And it all has to do with how you function mentally. What is your attitude? What is your intent in your every action, many of which you're not even paying attention to, right? 3,000 realms in every single thought moment. There's a lot going on causally in our momentum in life, most of which we're hardly aware of. But as we awaken our Buddha-ness, we become more and more in tune with all of that causation. This is why life gets easier and is less confronted with obstacles. Not that they won't come up, because they're already built in, but that's okay. That's the nature of life, right? All right, let's see if I can get through a whole paragraph. I'm telling you, see, this is very direct teaching. So it has all of this freight that it brings along with it. That's why I'm having to go through such lengths to describe what he's saying. Jeweled Stupa, twofold significance. Verifying what has come before refers to the trace teachings. That's the first 14 chapters, or the first third, depending on how you divide the Lotus Sutra. Introducing what is to come after refers to the origin teachings, which is obviously a reference that Nichiren uses all the time about the lifespan of the Tathagata chapter, right? Again, the stupa, when closed, it represents the trace teaching. In other words, we already know it's there, but we're not awakened to it. And the stupa, when open, the origin teaching, right? The two aspects of the stupa, in turn, indicate the two dharmas of the truth as object, kyo, and the subjective wisdom, chi, to grasp it. Now, that's the first time I've seen writing translated of Nichiren's where he refers to chi. You'll notice that it's included in our second meditation of Gangyo, the perfect fusion of Tai Chi and Chi. What is that about? It's about Tai Chi being will, volition, energy toward karma, albeit with attitude and intent, right? And Chi being the energy of momentum. Yeah? So, the two dharmas are the truth as the object, samsara, and our, remember, object is used, I wish there was a better English word to put in here. Object not so much as a thing, like we can view the mandala, but as I've pointed out, when you chant, that mandala starts to play little tricks with your eyes, like it's not quite static, which is your Buddha awareness, understanding that for all of its, objectness, the object is actually a verb, a doing, a modifying karma, as it were, for your momentum, your life as it moves through time-space, right? So truth as object, kyo, and subjective, in other words, your mind, of wisdom, chi, your momentum, your energy, how it's moving. You're now training it and opening it through your Gohonzon mind to experience Buddha, to grasp it. These interpretations get complicated, so I will stop here. Well, thanks for that, right? But he can do that. He can say, I'll stop here, because he's assuming Abutsu-bo, being a student of Buddhism and Nichiren scholarship and the Lotus Sutra, is already quite aware. In essence, he continues, the stupa's emergence means that the three groups of voice hearers, on hearing the Lotus Sutra, beheld the jeweled stupa of their own mind. So, if you needed validation for what I've been saying, Nichiren says it very succinctly. Now, the same is also true of Nichiren's disciples and lay followers, because I'm training and I'm showing all of the students that I have. This is Nichiren. And Abutsu-bo also, even though he's a monk and a teacher himself, he is also a student of Nichiren's, right? Now, the same is also true of Nichiren's disciples and lay followers. In other words, all of your minds are being awakened to this jeweled stupa of your mind, this Gohonzon, this ability to awaken your Buddha, not your Buddha, but Buddha in your mind, right? Words is hard. In the final Dharma age, which we are in, there is no jeweled stupa apart from the figures of those men and women who embrace the Lotus Sutra, the NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo. And if this is the case, then those who chant NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo, whether noble or base, high or low, are themselves the jeweled stupa, and also are themselves the Tathagata many jewels, or many treasures. The Tathagata, the thus come one, of reward, of experiencing enlightenment. That is the reward. And in a samsaric sense, to the banal mind, the jeweled stupa, the treasure tower. It is a mental physicalizing, thingifying, right? But we're talking about mental processes all along. There is no jeweled stupa other than NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo. So now he's saying it quite literally. The daimoku of the Lotus Sutra is the jeweled stupa. And the jeweled stupa is also NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo. So ask yourself why, when you look at the mandala, the tower in the center, the most forward element, is NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo. There is the jeweled stupa, the treasure tower, invoking what? Buddha, right? In your mind. Now the single body of Abutsu Shonen consists of the 5 elements of earth, water, fire, wind, and space, right? Back to physics. Yeah, we're made of stuff. These 5 elements are the 5 characters of the daimoku. NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo, NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo, right? This being the case, Abutsu-bo is himself the jeweled stupa, and the jeweled stupa is itself Abutsu-bo. There is no separation. We use these words to talk about our mental state, our enlightenment. And when we invoke our Buddha path, our mind of Buddha-ness, then our experience, samsarically, physically, thingingly, becomes the embodiment of enlightenment. Yeah? Any other understanding would be profitless. This is the jeweled stupa adorned with the 7 kinds of gems, hearing the Dharma, having conviction, keeping the precepts, practicing meditation, striving assiduously, abandoning attachments, and repenting of one's offenses. In other words, letting go of one's avarice, greed for those attachments, which conversely is what creates our fears and laments and so on. He's defining the process with words. You may think you made offerings to the jeweled stupa of the Tathagata many jewels. Back to the first paragraph, right? But that is not so. You offered them to yourself. Wham! That's exactly what I was saying in the first paragraph. That when you make offerings to support the spread, the bodhisattva effort of the practice of this NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo, right? You may think you're sending donations of money or incense and candles or whatever, or subscribing and clicking like or sharing, or buying books or buying yourself a mandala. Any way that you can see that you're supporting this sangha, you may see it as a gift. In samsara, we would call it a donation, a gift, a support, right? But because it's in the attitude and intent of supporting the practice, the awakening of Buddha-ness, you are in fact making an offering to your own enlightenment, right? That makes sense. It's like putting gas in a car. It costs you money to fill up the gas tank so that you can use the car to move, to go to your destination. And you may say, well, I'm giving money to the oil companies or the gas station or whatever. But in fact, you're giving yourself the ability to move forward. It's a rude analogy. Maybe a bit crass, but right? It makes sense. This is what we're doing when I offer all my time and my study and my efforts to make these videos. I'm not doing this solely for your benefit. Certainly I am, because that's my bodhisattva practice. But I have something to gain from that effort, don't I? That's the duality put to work toward enlightenment. The duality of samsara comes together as one in our practice of NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo. We can't utter the sound of NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo without incurring its benefit, its invocation. That's why Nichiren uses the word mirror a lot, right? So let's go ahead. We're almost done with this. Yeah, we're doing great. Okay. So you offer to one's own person is the Tathagata of original enlightenment, possessing the three bodies in one. Believing in this way, chant NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo. So again, attitude, intent. Believing in this way, committing to your Buddhahood in this way, with that kind of a mind, with that kind of an attitude, understanding that your original state, the original state of everything that you experience, including your own life, is Buddha. And with that kind of, you might say, ichinen, will, volition, taiji, connect with the very flow that is your manifested life, your momentum. Chant NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo with that kind of attitude, then that place where you do so is the very place where the jeweled stupa dwells. This is why the perfect mirror, the mandala, has this image, this incantation, this invocation of the jeweled stupa, because it's a mirror of your mind. NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo, jeweled stupa, right? This is the meaning of the sutra's statement, quote, if there should be a place where one preaches MyoHoRenGeKyo, the Lotus Sutra, my jeweled stupa, so on and so forth, will rise and appear before him, end quote. Quite literally, Nichiren provides us with that exact situation by this mandala. That's why the mandala is so incredibly useful for our samsaric entity to focus. This is why he calls it a mirror, because it's not the thing that we're focusing on. It's a mirror to focus on our mind, right? Our experiential mind. Because this teaching is so very rare and wondrous, I am inscribing the jeweled stupa for you. So he's making a mandala specifically for Abutsu-bo. Do not bequeath it to anyone except your own son. Do not show it to others unless they are firm in conviction. If they've not made the commitment to practice Lotus Sutra Buddhism for their enlightenment, to MyoHoRenGeKyo, then you got to remember, Nichiren at this time in the shogunate world that he was living in was surrounded by detractors, other Buddhist schools that saw him as a threat. So he cautions Abutsu-bo, this is a very powerful thing you're doing, powerful not only for your own life as it is for all of us, but powerful in the sense that there are many around us that would be confronted. So, don't be a show off, which again is why I think shoju, as opposed to shakubuku, is an incredibly effective method of changing other people's minds and attracting them to NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo, right? This is the purpose of the Buddha's advent in this world. It's the whole reason why Buddha found its way, its expression through a man in order to make it obvious. That is the power of this practice. Otherwise, we would just go along being animals, following our instincts rather than our higher potential. You, Abutsu-bo, should be called, quote, teacher and leader, end quote, of the northern province of Sado. Could Bodhisattva pure conduct have been reborn in your form and visited me? So this is high praise. He's not talking about reincarnation. He's talking about the personages. Remember, I keep talking about personages. The Bodhisattva pure conduct. Isn't that a suspicious name for a person? Because it's not a person. It's a mental state. It's a mental attitude. A person, a bodhisattva, a person who cares for others of pure conduct, like that's even possible, but it's something to aspire to, right? And what would pure conduct be? Unreproachable conduct. That would be a perfect bodhisattva, somebody who is constantly benevolent, assisting others toward their enlightenment without a single fault. That's an idealistic human, isn't it? That's not a real person. But could you be, because you're so committed and so important, and you helped me on Sado Island, you helped me survive, you're such a benevolent person, could you be like this personage, this mythical being that what we'll call him is Bodhisattva pure conduct, and have come into your life, your body, and mentally taken over your life as a Bodhisattva of pure conduct? You see how that's utilized in Buddhism. It is wondrous, wondrous indeed. I, Nichiren, am unable to know the reason for your resolve, so I will leave that to the power of Bodhisattva superior conduct when he makes his advent. Now, Nichiren's already identified himself as, again, like he's identifying Abutsu-bo, could you be the embodiment of Bodhisattva superior conduct? Something that Nichiren aspires to be and sometimes sees himself in certain activities as accomplishing. Nichiren identifies with Jogyo, who is Bodhisattva superior conduct, in several of his writings. There can be no other reason, none at all. You and your wife should revere the jeweled stupa privately. I will write again in detail with my deep respect, Nichiren. So, to Abutsu Shonen. So really a heartfelt letter of not only thanks, but deep acknowledgement of the stance and the courage that Abutsu-bo is demonstrating as a practitioner of Lotus Sutra self-practice Buddhism, right? And following Nichiren's scholarship of it directly at a time when all of these people, he's on Sado Island. This is a place where the shogunate sends people to die, right? So he's displaying tremendous courage, and his only protection is his practice. But he's surrounded by Nembutsu and Pure Land and others that are just looking for a reason to go, Nichiren, you follow that guy? We'll take all your land, we'll rape your wife, we'll take your livestock, we'll leave you penniless, put you in a shack and wait for you to die. We don't like that you follow that guy. He shakes up our world. right? There are places on this earth today where if you even say you're a Buddhist, you might be jailed. Yes. I've heard this said. I don't know if it's still this way, but I had some friends when I lived in California who were Greek, who moved to the United States from Greece, and they said when they go back and visit, it's a deeply Christian country, and it's part of their laws, and that you can get a lot of trouble if your neighbors report that you're over there chanting or practicing Buddhism. You can get a lot of trouble. I don't know how much of that is. I don't doubt his word. I don't know how it manifests. But yeah, we still live with that kind of intimidation today. So that's why I say to you, I'm not a proponent of going out in parking lots and hammering people over the head to get them to chant NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo. I don't think that that's a wise practice, especially in our turbulent world today. You might bring upon yourself a lot more trouble than you need. And the success rate is questionable. I think you can do a lot more to practice with great determination and let your effect, because it will draw people out of your environment for multitudes of reasons, not having to do with Buddhism at all. They don't know that they're seeking your energy. They're seeing something of value in you, and they want to be around it, even if it's to ask you whether the cheese goes over the bologna or under it. I'm being ridiculous, but honestly, I have had people come up to me out of the woodwork, quite literally, strangers look at me like I was a close relative and asking me questions with bated breath for an answer. They don't even know why they're so attracted. And I have to be gentle. I have to treat them with respect. And I always invite them. I find a way, like I said in the last video with my mother, deeply Catholic, to give her an idea of how to harness her mind. And that's very infectious, because deep down we all know, right? The Buddha abides. Whether you recognize that or not, it's there. And slowly people mature differently. People come to their own insights quickly, slowly, and ultimately it starts with the simplest thing, is the daimoku. It's like a key that unlocks the door. And if they're ready, they'll come back quickly. I've had people come back after a dozen years. You told me something a long time ago. I think I want to know more about that. Well, come on, let's chant together. Oh yeah, it was chanting. That's what you talked about. Yeah, come on in. Let's just chant for a few minutes, see what you think. And we can talk some more about it. But it's just life. It's experiencing your life to its maximal potential. Wow, that's Buddhism? What about the little fat guy? Well, there never was a little fat guy. That's just a westernization to tell a story. It's not even a westernization, is it? There's lots of sects all over the world that have little fat Buddhas around their house, right? And they tell themselves it's for this, it's for that. That's folklore for you. But if you want to practice, if you really want to open your mind and you want to attain enlightenment, awaken and express your life to its maximal potential with the least amount of hindrances, how does that not sound appealing to a human being, right? Well, this is how you do it. Let's start. We start simple. But that's shoju. That's bringing friendship and love into the fold. That's the most effective. Now, when you're being reproached and attacked, like Nichiren would have been in the shogunate times, by these other entities, now you have to break their misconceptions. That's shakabuku. Shakubuku is breaking bones, but not literally. It's breaking false attachments, false ideas, false understandings. Well, that starts from a place of other Buddhists who don't understand what they're doing, not the average person. that's a more kind, showed you a bringing into the fold, a gentle kind of growth, right? Like you and I doing these videos, studying together. And then maybe you know somebody, that guy was asking me this question that Sylvain talked about today. I wonder, maybe I'll email him since I have his email, or her, and I'll ask her, would you mind if I sent you a video? Because what we were talking about the other day, Sifu Sylvain talks about in this video. Would you be interested? Yeah, go ahead, send it to me. Okay. And you send her a link to the video. That showed you. That's almost being invited, even though the person who's inviting you doesn't understand that's what they're doing. You, with your Buddha wisdom, understand how you can deliver on a question or a desire there may not really be understanding that they're asking. That shows you. Be gentle, be kind to yourself, to others, be generous. NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo. Thank you so much for your generosity to me, to this channel, to our Sangha. And I'll see you in the next one. All right? Bye for now.